Alright, so good day sa ating lahat. Let's continue our discussion with the process of policy analysis. So tapos na tayo sa problem structuring. Pumunta na tayo sa ano to? Forecasting and prescription. So dito sa forecasting and prescription, pag-usapan natin ito yung tatlong principal forms, limitations, approaches. Sa prescriptions naman, pag-usapan natin yung forms of rationality, approaches, methods, and techniques. Let's take a look ano ba yung forecasting na tinutukoy natin. Pag sinabi nating forecasting, it is used to produce expected policy outcomes and policy relevant information about consequences that are likely to follow upon the adoption of preferred policies at the adoption phase of the policy formulation. So ang forecasting po, nangyayari po yan sa policy formulation. Anong ginagawa doon is yung information, yung expected policy outcomes, yun ang mga pino-forecast natin. So, we produce what information about the policy outcomes, yung expectations natin, yung mga predictions natin. An example of simple forecasting is the scorecard na ginagamit ng government agencies natin. Ang scorecard natin is based on the judgment of experts and are particularly useful in identifying expected outcomes of science and technology policies. Pero forecasts of all kinds, whether based on expert judgment on the extrapolation of historical trends or on technical sophisticated econometric models, ay mga prone to errors based on faulty or implausible assumptions. Plausible or prone po sila sa mga errors because of different factors affecting forecasting. Kasi po, ang forecasting, it yields factual information, but it is prone to errors. Factual information about the expected policy outcomes on the basis of prior information about the policy problems. So madami pong mga areas na kinoconsider before we forecast. Tinitignan natin kung ano yung past outcomes, yung mga policy outcomes from the past implementations, mga past problems, policy problems. So ang forecast po, it takes three principal forms. Una is projection, pangalawa is prediction, and we have conjectures. So, meron pong forms of forecasting. Isa po dyan ay ang projection. Pag sinabi natin projection, ang forecast is based on extrapolation of current and historical trends. So, ang ina-analyze niya or ang ina-assess niya ay yung current and historical trends in the future, into the future. And then, ang prediction naman is, a prediction is forecast based on theoretical laws. So kanina, based on current and historical trends. Ngayon, based on theories naman ito. Based on propositions, based on analogies. Wala na rin akong boses. So, alright, so sa prediction, the essential feature of a prediction is that it explains the generative mechanisms. So ang tinitignan po dito ay yung causes and effects or the consequences na pwedeng mangyari doon sa policies na fino-formulate natin. So, gumagawa tayo ng policies in response to the problem, and then we predict kung ano yung outcome based on different theoretical propositions, based on theoretical laws, mga iba't ibang mga mga models na ginagamit ng ating mga sociologists, ng ating mga economists. So yun po yung mga basehan ng ating prediction. Kung sa kanina is projection, we base it on yung mga trends. Ito yung pataas yung inflation. So ibig sabihin, ang projection natin is pataas din yung yung mangyayari for the future, kumbaga. Okay? So we have also conjecture. Pag sinabi natin conjecture, is ito yung forecast based on informed judgments. Pag sinabi natin informed judgment, based on intuitive arguments. This judgment may take in the form of intuitive arguments for which assumptions about the insight, creative, intellectual power, or tacit knowledge of knowledgeables. So, based on instinct, kumbaga, based on, ito yung mangyayari, based on my conjecture, based on my instinct, based on my arguments. Pero syempre, yung arguments mo is, meron ding basis. It can be based on historical events or kaya naman yung current events, which is different doon sa una kanina na projection, yung trends yung pinag-aaralan natin doon. Doon sa kanina, Prediction, ito naman yung mga theories. Based on theories, yung forecasting natin. Ito, based on intuition, based on arguments, based on logical arguments, mga rational ideas, rational solutions na ginagamit natin. There are limitations of forecasting. Anong limitations niya? Forecast accuracy. Pwedeng hindi accurate. Second is comparative yield and context. Sometimes hindi natin nakikita yung context, hindi natin ginagawa yung comparison with other forecasts or other results from other policies na in-implement na from the previous years or previous periods. So pag sinabi nating forecast accuracy, ito yung tumutukoy sa sa kung gaano ka reliable, ka truthful or ka close sa reality yung forecast na sinasabi natin. For example, maliwanag ang kalangitan pero sasabihin mo mamaya babagyo. So, inaccurate kasi nga wala namang hindi naman makulimlim. Pwede mong sabihin na mamaya uulan kasi makulimlim yung ulap. So forecast accuracy, nagiging inaccurate yung isang bagay kung hindi natin ina-assess na maayos yung current situation. That's why sa problem structuring, tinitignan din natin kung ano yung situation, kung ano yung environment. Sa forecast accuracy, para maging accurate yung forecast natin, kailangan natin na Kailangan natin na itignan yung different variables, factors na it affects our forecast or our ideas with regards to the outcomes. So sa forecasting, even when forecasts use advanced models with many variables, kahit napakadami nilang ginagamit na technology, they are not necessarily more accurate than simple forecasts that just extend or extrapolate past trends. Kahit na napaka-komplikadong forecast, ay pwedeng maging mali. Gaya ng Pag-asa, di ba? Yung mga forecast nila, sometimes hindi naman talaga nangyayari. Hindi ganun ka-accurate, kumbaga. Pero syempre, ginagamitan na nila ng mga technology yon. Pero still, there are forecasts na not all the forecasts are reliable. Tama, nangyayari. So, parang mas magaling pa nga yung farmer, kumbaga, mag-forecast. Oh, ayan na, mamaya ulan. Diba? Makita pa lang niya yung ulap, alam na niya kung anong mangyayari mamaya, yung forecast niya. So, what else? Anong limitation niya? Even when forecast use advanced models, gaya ng sinabi ko kanina, hindi ibig sabihin nun magiging accurate na lahat. So, kailangan pa rin ng total assessment ng environment, ng situation with the use of different models para mas maging highly accurate. Pero hindi man siya accurate totally, but still, mas close siya sa reality. Kumbaga, kumpara sa walang ginagamit na models. So, ang limitation pa ng forecasting is comparative yield. Ano ibig sabihin nito? This part says that complicated economic or energy models, those using many equations, yung mga daming mga formulas, dami-daming mga theories na ginagamit. Sabi dito is, pag-compare, don't always produce better prediction. So, yung paggamit ng napaka-komplikadong mga equations or theories, ay hindi lahat nagpo-produce ng expert judgment, ng better predictions. So, next is we have context. Pag context, it explains that the accuracy of forecast depends on the situation or the setting in three ways. Una is institutional context. Background, kumbaga, ano yung situation. So, institutional context, ang forecasting daw, ang accuracy niya varies depending on who make the forecast. Sinong gumagawa ng forecast. So, pag sinabi naman natin temporal context, the longer the forecast period, the less accurate it becomes. So pinag-uusapan dito yung time frame, kumbaga. The more na tumatagal, the more na nagiging inaccurate yung forecast. Historical context naman is the time period we are living in affects accuracy. Hindi sa kung anong nangyari noon ay mangyayari din ngayon. So sa forecasting, hindi mo pwedeng i-apply yung sistema noong panahon pa ng 90s, ngayong 21st century, diba? So kung dati uso pa ang yung sa mga economic forecast natin na walang ano to, lahat na magiging maganda yung economy natin. Kaya kailangan natin mag-invest na marami dito sa banda nito. Pero nakalimutan natin yung sa part ng health, kunyari mag-invest tayo ng ng build yung sa mga infrastructure. Kasi nga napag-usapan dati or na pag-aralan dati ng mga panahon na effective yon para tumaas ang economy. Eh, hindi natin namalayan na nakakalimutan pala natin yung area of health na which is naging sentro ng issue noon nung pandemic, di ba? Hindi tayo nakapaghanda ng maayos. That's why yung historical context, yung applicable noon, hindi ibig sabihin applicable din ngayon. We cannot enforce the things that has been done from the previous up to present. Kasi magkaiba po sila ng context. Magkaiba po sila ng pangyayari, sistema. That's why hindi po madali ang mag-forecast. In summary, forecasts are never perfect. Using more data or complex models doesn't always make them better. Forecast accuracy depends on who makes the prediction. Yung kaninang unang approach natin. Institutional context. It depends how far into the future it looks like, temporal, and how complex the times are. There are approaches to forecasting. Ano yung mga approaches? Paano natin gagawin yung forecasting? Una is, we need to decide ano ba yung ifo-forecast natin. Forecast ka ng forecast, di mo naman alam yung ifo-forecast mo. Hindi mo naman alam yung policy na gusto mong i-impose. Wala ka namang policy proposals o kaya problem situation o problem structuring. Decide how to make that forecast. Paano mo gagawin? And then, you choose appropriate techniques in forecasting. So, when we decide what to forecast, before making a forecast, kailangan alam mo muna kung ano yung exactly na gusto mong i-predict. Ang tawag doon is object of the forecast. So, yung object of the forecast ay yun yung kailangan mong tignan. Forecast can focus on 4 things, yung 4 objects na to. Ano yung pwede kong tignan? Una is yung consequences of existing policies. Pag sinabi natin consequences of existing policies, tanungin mo muna yung sarili mo, ano ba ang naisabatas na? Ano ba ang available ngayon na batas? Ano ang naging epekto ng batas na yun? Kailangan mong i-predict what will happen if the government keeps doing what it's doing. So nakita mo kung ano yung epekto ng isang batas. Like for example, ano bang batas meron tayo? Yung free education. Nakita mo na maganda yung free education. Madami ang nakakapagtapos. Pero kung hindi ito maganda at walang nakakapagtapos at uulitin pa rin ng gobyerno babadgetan yung free education, anong mangyayari? Walang mangyayari. No changes, no actions, no new actions. So ang gagawin mo is you forecast ano yung magiging epekto nun. Yung existing policies na yun. So another object of the forecast is, or the topic for the forecast, kung ano yung ifo-forecast mo, is the consequences of the new policies. Yung existing policies and the new policies. Yung free education, ano bang bagong batas ngayon? Meron bang bagong batas or walang bagong batas? So a forecast might predict what will happen if this policy continues for the next 5 years, yung existing kanina. Ngayon, you will now predict what might happen if a new policy is introduced. Suppose the government plans to introduce electric buses in cities para ma-reduce yung air pollution. Anong ifo-forecast mo? Siyempre, ang tatanungin mo is, how much pollution will decrease? How many jobs might shift from fuel-based transport to electric? And how much the program will cost? So kapag mayroong bagong batas, ano yung mga pwede mong i-forecast? Gaano karami? Mamimeasure mo ba? Gaano kababa yung magiging epekto ng batas na yon, kababa ng pollution, for example, yung pag-introduce ng electric jeepneys, di ba? Meron ng mga ganun, electric buses. So, magkano ang budget ang kakailanganin? So, this forecast helps evaluate the potential impact of a new idea or program bago siya i-implement. The next is, we have the contents of new policies. Ito naman is a forecast what specific elements, anong mga kakailanganin, anong mga details, anong mga included dun sa batas, sa bagong batas na yun. Gaya ng sinabi natin kanina. So, behavior of policy stakeholders. Ano pang pwede mong i-forecast? Yung behavior of policy stakeholders. So, titingnan mo ngayon, sino ba yung mga stakeholders? Politicians, business people, businessmen, or the public? How will they react to the bagong batas, to the new policy? For instance, as the government proposes a new tax on sugary drinks para ma-promote yung health daw. So, tataasan daw nila yung waste ng mga sugary drinks like Coke, iced tea, etc. Ngayon, ang anong ifo-forecast mo? A forecast might predict the businesses, soft drink companies. Siyempre, i-predict mo, those businesses will oppose the tax. Those businesses will oppose the new policy. What else? Health organizations. Anong gagawin ng mga health organization? Ang magiging prediction mo is, they will support it kasi nga syempre, it promotes health. What about the consumers? Anong magiging prediction mo sa kanila? So yung mga consumers might initially complain, but later adjust. Una, magko-complain muna sila. Syempre kapag tumaas ang tax ng mga Coke, ng mga sugary drinks, tataas din ang presyo nito, di ba? So, magko-complain sila sa una, pero later on, makapag-adjust pa rin naman. So sa mga binanggit natin, it will help the decision makers to understand who will support or resist the policy. Makikita mo na dito kung sino ang susuporta sa'yo at sino ang sasalungat sa'yo based dun sa forecasting mo na yun. We need also to decide paano tayo magpo-forecast. After identifying kung ano yung mga ifo-forecast natin, the next step is to decide how to make that forecast. Ibig sabihin nun, kailangan nating tignan kung ano yung basis or method na gagamitin natin to predict the future. Itong basis na to can be, number one is trend extrapolation. Can be theory-based forecasting. It can be informed judgments. Pag sinabi nating trend extrapolation, based on trends. Extension in the future of trends observed in the past. So kung pataas or pababa yung trend, syempre, magkakaroon ka ng idea kung ano ang magiging resulta in the next few months. For example, kagaya ng mga stock markets. Pag nag-trade po kayo, pag pataas yung trend, syempre, ang magiging prediction mo sometimes, most of the time, ay pataas din ang presyo ng stocks. So, ang gagawin mo is, hihintayin mo siya para tumaas and then you will sell. Ganon din po sa forecasting when it comes to policy formulation. Pag gumagawa ka ng batas, nagpropose ka ng policy, titingnan mo ngayon kung ano ang trend. Titingnan mo kung ano ang mga nangyari from the past na pwedeng mangyari din in the future. Provided that walang bagong batas or walang unforeseen events na pwedeng mag-intervene para mabago yung mga course of events like pandemic. Diba? Maganda ang build, maganda ang infrastructure projects. Pero dahil nag-pandemic, anong nangyayari sa mga businesses? Nagsara. Provided na ma-foresee mo yon, pwede kang makapag-create ng accurate forecast. So, trend extrapolation is also based on inductive logic. Pag sinabi natin inductive logic, ito yung proseso of reasoning from particular observations to general conclusions. So, dahil nag-observe ka na, meron ka ng research about it, nagkakaroon ka ng conclusion, ng claims. So, in other words, reasoning from specific observation or the past data mismo. That is trend extrapolation. Take note. So, from specific observation or the past data to general conclusions, doon papasok yung future pattern or yung trend extrapolation. Pag sinabi naman natin theory-based forecasting, it is a systematically structured and empirically testable set of laws and propositions that make predictions about the occurrence of one event on the basis of another. Ibig sabihin, you use an established theory, a general explanation of cause and effect to predict what will happen next. So the theories are causal in form, and their specific role is to explain and to predict. The use of theories is based on deductive logic. Kanina, inductive sa trend extrapolation. Ngayon, this is deductive logic. Ang ibig sabihin nun, yung reasoning natin is from general statements. Hindi na siya from based on data. With sa theory-based, based on general statements, based on different laws or propositions to particular claims. We have also informed judgment. So, pag sinabi natin informed judgment, inulit-ulit natin yung kanina, is it refers to the knowledge based on insight or intuition or intuitive arguments, or what the pragmatist philosopher Charles Peirce na sabi niya is hypothesis. So informed judgment, also known as the hypothesis, null and alternative hypothesis. Okay, so when the data or theories are not available, pag walang data, yung trend extrapolation, walang trend, walang available data, at wala ding theory na available na nagsasabi na ito ang mangyayari, anong mangyayari sa forecast natin? Anong gagawin natin? Paano tayo magpo-forecast? Ang gagawin niya is magkakaroon siya ng hypothesis. Personal judgment, based on intuition, based on expert opinions, kumbaga. People who have experience and insight to make educated guesses about the future. That is called expert opinions, based on your experience. So, ang informed judgment are often based on abductive logic. Kung ang trend extrapolation ay inductive, ang theory-based ay deductive, ang informed judgment naman ay abductive logic. So, abductive logic, that is the process of reasoning about the future when and then works backward to the information and assumptions necessary to support a claim. Okay? So, pangatlong gagawin natin is approaches is to choose appropriate techniques. Kanina, appropriate, paano natin, yung method. Anong gagawin natin, paano? Ito naman yung technique, parang strategy siya. So, similar with the method, which is extrapolative forecasting. Yung kanina is trend extrapolation, di ba? The same is true with extrapolative forecasting. Kung general term ang gagamitin natin, we are using extrapolative forecasting. So this type of forecasting ay gumagamit ng past and current data. Again, data ulit ang ginagamit para i-predict yung future trends. So from past, ito yung trend pataas, maybe ang ifo-forecast mo ay magiging pataas din. Kaya nga may limitation ng forecasting, di ba? Sometimes hindi siya accurate. And then, kung magbe-base ka lang doon sa data. So, pagdating naman sa theoretical forecasting, the same is true with yung kanina, theory-based forecasting. So, pareho lang yun. Theoretical forecasting, gagamit ka ng established theories in order to forecast things. Ganon din sa judgmental forecasting. Ang judgmental forecasting is informed judgment naman. So, iba lang sila ng mga terminologies. Dito is mga methods how to make the forecast. Yung tatlo. Ito naman technique. Yung technique, gumagamit din siya ng method na yun. So, magkakapareho lang sila ng ibig sabihin. Let's go on to the extrapolative forecasting. So, mag-dig deeper tayo doon sa ibig sabihin ng extrapolative forecasting. So, sabi ko kanina, it's about trend extrapolation, it's about projection. Ang sinasabi natin, let's take a look on the past trend and let's take a look on the future, on the current trend. Until such time, makapag-forecast tayo for the future. Ang theoretical is based on theories, based on predictions. So, projection po sa una, ngayon prediction naman. What about judgmental forecasting? So sa theoretical kanina, tinitignan natin dito yung mga scientific laws. Tinitignan natin yung cause and effect. Pag sa judgmental na, ang tinatanong natin dito yung mga expert, yung mga educated people kasi they have the experience to provide hypothesis. They have experience to provide informed judgment. Tawag naman dito is conjectures. So yung pinag-usapan natin kaninang mga concepts, projection, prediction, conjectures, under siya dito sa tatlong approaches. Okay, so punta na tayo sa prescription. Pag prescription, ang lagi nyo iisipin is, you are now selecting a preferred policy alternative. So kanina is you forecast kung ano yung pwedeng maging outcome ng 3 or 5 policy option mo na ginawa mo based or using the different methods and techniques in forecasting. Based doon sa result ng forecasting mo, maganda pala to or mas maganda pala yung isa. Ano ngayon ang i-prescribe mo? Ano ngayon ang preference mo? So ginagawa po ito sa policy adoption phase, yung prescription. Ano ngayon yung i-adapt mong proposal or policy para i-implement. Yun lang naman yung sinasabi niya. So forms of rationality, Prescription requires providing rational choice. Bago ka mag-decide kung ano yung gusto mong i-propose, kailangan mo ng rational thinking. Kailangan mong gumamit ng logical reasoning. Unang form ng rationality or logical reasoning is technical rationality. Pangalawa is economic. Pangatlo is legal, social, and substantive rationality. Para makapag-come up ka with a proposed policy, gagamit ka ng mga forms of rationality. Pag sinabi nating technical rationality, ito yung mga reasoned choices base saan? A comparison of alternatives according to their effectiveness. So ang basis mo dito ay yung effectiveness nila. Yung criteria mo for evaluation ay effectiveness. In other words, you will choose the best option based on effectiveness. So it's about getting the greatest yung data pagdating sa effectiveness. It's about nagawa ba yung na-meet ba yung mamimit ba nung policy na pinopose mo yung intended period of implementation? Feasible ba yung policy option na pinipili mo? So ganun. Alin doon ang mag-work na mas better? Which option works best technically pagdating sa numbers, pagdating sa technicalities, numerical data? So you will assess now sino sa kanila ang mas effective. The second thing is we are talking about economic rationality. Sa economic rationality, we are basing our preference or options dun sa criteria of evaluation related to what? Efficiency naman. So, kanina effectiveness. Ang basis naman ng decision natin ngayon ay yung efficiency. We choose the best option based on what? Efficiency. Pag sinabi natin efficiency, hindi lang po kung gaano karami yung pwede niyang maging result ng policy na pinopropose mo. Kung gaano ka-benefit. But also, tinitignan niya kung gaano kamahal o kamura yung method or yung resources na gagamitin mo in order to achieve the greater benefit. In other words, it's about getting the greatest benefit for the least cost. So, ang focus niya is on value for money or cost-benefit balance. Next is the legal rationality. Pag pinag-uusapan natin ang legal rationality, ang basis po natin ay conformity to the law. Wala ba tong sinasagasaan batas? Yung policy option mo ba na pipiliin mo, walang sinasagasaan na batas. So in other words, in choosing the best option based on whether it follows the law or legal standards. So ang focus niya is legality, focus niya is in a criteria of evaluation, focus niya is fairness or equity or equality. So yon. We have also social rationality. Ano naman ang basis ng social rationality sa pagpili ng policy option? Ang basis po natin ay ano? According to their maintenance of valued social institutions. That is, they promote institutionalization. So dapat daw, ang policy option na o yung proposal mo ay nakaangkla sa institutionalization. In other words, dapat daw ay ang option na pipili mo is based on what strengthens or sustain or maintains the social values and institutions like democracy, equality, and community well-being. Dapat hindi niya mababawasan yung mga values like democracy, yung equity, yung inclusivity. Yung pinopose mo ay hindi magiging salungat sa mga values na ito or yung mga norms na meron sa ating society. So ang focus naman niya ay social harmony and long-term social good. We have also substantive rationality. Pag sinabi nating substantive rationality, ano naman ang basis niya? It's about what? It's about comparison of multiple forms of rationality. So dito, titignan mo na alin doon ang mas technical rationality. Medyo mas maganda yung technical niya, yung economic, medyo legal and social. Alin doon ang mas nakakaangat, kumbaga. Ang substantive rationality, ang sinasabi lang niya is you will Compare everything. Alin doon ang mas higher? Kung meron kang tatlong option, policy option, alin doon ang mas tinitignan niya, mas maganda, mas optional, mas nakakaangat sa technicality, mas nakakaangat sa economic, mas nakakaangat sa legal. O kaya naman, hindi siguro siya medyo technical, pero economic and legal and social siya. Yung rationality niya. Yung pagpili mo ay based on economic, based on efficiency, based on institutionalism, and based on values. Baka naman dalawa lang. So titingnan mo doon kung alin ang mas nakakaangat. You combine all other forms of rationality to make a balanced, well-rounded decision. So the several types of rationality can be viewed in terms of specific decision criteria for policy, for making prescription, I should say. Natakal na natin to yung criteria, yung efficiency, effectiveness, adequacy, equity. So let's go now to the approaches to prescription. Una is cost-benefit analysis. Bago ka daw pumili ng policy option na ipropose mo, dun sa policy brief or yung communication, policy communication na gagawin mo, you should do a cost-benefit analysis. Efficiency naman yung yung prino-promote niya, cost-benefit. Mataas ang benefit pero mura yung pagkaka-implement, yung mga resources na gagamitin. Yun ang cost-benefit analysis. Dapat pag nagpatayo ka ng tulay, dapat hindi lang siya mura pero dapat quality din. Kaya siya magbe-benefit, mas malaki yung benefit. Malaki din yung mura yung cost niya. So, ganun lang naman yun. And then, sa cost effectiveness naman, ang pinopromote niya, syempre, effectiveness. Monetary cost versus units of goods or services valued effect. So, it is an approach to policy prescription that permits analysts to compare and advocate policies by quantifying their total cost and their effects. Kung mahal siya, dapat quality. Dapat mas valuable yung epekto nung pinili mong batas, pinili mong policy proposal. Monetary cost. Yung kanina, efficiency, ngayon, effectiveness naman. Pero pareho silang, ang tinitignan niya is yung cost. Alin doon kung mahal yung pagkakagawa ng isang proyekto, dapat garod, mas long term. Mas madaming yung magbe-benefits. Hindi lang iisang tao, hindi lang lilima, kundi community mismo. Sa cost-benefit analysis, dapat efficient siya. Mababa man ang sahod, pero quality pa rin. Okay? Methods and techniques for prescription. Ano ba mga strategies natin? Paano tayo pipili ng policy option na gagawin natin? Aside from the criteria for evaluation, criteria for prescription, and then yung mga forms of rationality, meron din tayong techniques for prescription. Una is objective mapping. Para siyang structuring. Kanina, sa mga previous discussion natin, ang ini-structure natin ay yung problema. Ito naman, ang ini-structure natin ay yung mga solusyon. So we provide different techniques. Una is yung objective mapping. Ang ginagamit natin dito ay objective tree diagram. So, what else? We have also the value clarification. Pag sinabi nating value clarification, it is a procedure for identifying and classifying value premises that underlie the selection of the policy objectives. So the need for value clarification in making policy prescription is most evident kung kino-consider natin yung competing criteria for prescription. Ano ba yung criteria? Yung effectiveness, efficiency. Alin doon ang mas valuable? Alin doon yung ina-address ng policy natin? We are looking at the value of our policy to the different criteria that we have enumerated a while ago. The third one is value critic. Kanina, titignan natin kung ano, i-clarify natin kung ano yung mga mga ina-address niyang mga criteria natin. Ngayon naman is, magkakaroon na tayo ng critic. We will examine the persuasiveness of conflicting arguments offered in the course of a debate about policy objectives. So yung critic natin, papasok dyan yung advantage and disadvantage ng mga policy options natin. Before tayo mag-proceed, magpili ng policy option, kailangan natin i-critic ano ba ang advantage, ano ba ang disadvantage. Kanina, ang i-critic natin is, ang i-clarify natin ano ang mga values, ano ang mga criteria na ina-address niya. Ngayon, ano naman yung mga advantage and disadvantage ng policy option na ano to, pino-propose natin. Kung may tatlo kang policy option, saan doon ang mas advantageous? Pang-apat is we are conducting cost element structuring. Pag sinabi natin cost element structuring, ito yung proseso na klina-classify po natin at dinidescribe natin lahat ng mga gagastusin na gagamitin sa pag-establish and pag-operate ng policy na pinopropose natin. At yung cost element structure is a list of functions, hindi lang po kung ano yung materials, kundi pati yung mga roles, pati mga functions, equipment, and supplies na kinakailangan sa pag-implement or sa resources ng policy proposal natin or policy options natin. Panglima is we have the cost estimation. Ano ng cost estimation? Yung kanina is cost element structuring, alin doon ang mga kakailanganin mo, magkano ang kakailanganin mo. Ito cost estimation. Kanina tinitignan natin ano yung mga resources. Ngayon tinitignan naman natin yung value ng mga resources na yun. Ito yung nag-indicate what elements should be measured, and it actually measures those resources na provide natin kanina. And then it measures all elements in the operation. Kanina, it classifies, it describes all costs in operating a program. Ngayon is, it measures all elements. The sixth one is shadow pricing. Ano naman tong shadow pricing na sinasabi natin? Pag shadow pricing, it is about the procedure for making what? Making subjective judgments about the monetary value of benefits and costs when market prices are unreliable or unavailable. Ngayon, kung walang cost, you estimate. What? You shadow price. Ibig sabihin nun is, you make subjective judgment. Magkano kaya ang gagastusin? O sige, sabihin na natin yung isang tulay, 10 billion overpriced. Yung mga ginastos natin sa mga face mask, million din yun. Diba? Dahil nga abrupt yung pandemic, nagkaroon tayo ng shadow pricing. Nagkaroon ng malawakang demand. Kapag mataas ang demand, tumataas din ang alin? Presyo. Kapag mataas ang supply, bumababa ang alin? Kung mataas ang demand, ano yung rule of supply and demand? Pag mataas ang demand, bumababa ang supply. Pag mataas ang supply, bumababa ang demand. So, ganun yung parang shadow pricing natin ng subjective judgments based on benefits and cost of operations. Something na wala o yung mga cost ng mga bilihin is unreliable o kaya naman unavailable. Yung mga presyo ng mga resources natin ay hindi natin ma-estimate. So, ang gagawin natin, magkakaroon tayo ng subjective judgment. Alright. So, meron pa. Una is, pang-pito is constraint mapping. So, constraint mapping is about classifying limitations. Titignan mo na ngayon, anong limitation ng policy na pre-propose mo? Ano yung mga barriers or obstacles na hahadlang para ma-implement yung policy na pre-propose mo. And then, we have also yung constraint mapping, ang ginagawa po natin, we categorize or classify the limitations. Pwede po siyang physical, pwede siyang legal limitations, physical limitations, pwede siyang organizational limitations, kulang sa tao, legal, medyo meron ng batas hindi na kailangan yan, kumbaga parang ganun. Physical, baka kulang naman ng resources, kulang ng budget. Political, baka masyadong mapolitika. O kaya naman, mapolitika yung project natin na yan kapag inilapit natin yan. Distributional, and budgetary constraint. The next one is the cost internalization. So yung isa sa mga technique daw is cost internalization. Ano naman to? It is a procedure for incorporating all relevant outside costs, so yung mga externalities natin, into an internal cost element structure. It means, ang ibig sabihin po natin dito ay we are all including all the real cost of a policy or a project, even those that affect others or the environment. So sa cost internalization, we try to bring those external costs, negative effects man yan or positive effects, to the community or society, ilalagay natin yan lahat sa gagastusin natin, sa lahat ng mga requirements ng policy natin. And then, doon natin makikita lahat or yung kabuuan or the true total cost of the policy na we are proposing. 9 is discounting. Another method or technique is discounting. Ano naman itong discounting? Mag-discount. As we saw above in the description of steps in conducting a cost-benefit analysis, ito po yung procedure for estimating the present value of cost and benefits that will be realized in the future. So discounting is isang paraan to take into account the effects of time when making policy prescription. Time is important because future costs and benefits have less value than present ones. Pag sinabi natin discounting is we are looking at the price of our resources, price of goods and services from the past price to the present price or present cost. So, yung presyo noon hindi na katulad ngayon kasi nga mayroong inflation. Ganun yun po yung discounting. Okay, so we have the sensitivity analysis. Ano naman tong sensitivity analysis? Pag pinag-usapan po ang sensitivity analysis, it answers the question, what if things don't go exactly as we expect? Para tong, anong tawag doon? Yung planning, part of planning, contingency planning, parang ganyan. Paano kung hindi mangyari as we expect? Mga backup plans natin. We are looking at the sensitive things. We are looking at the most risky. What if hindi mangyari? Meron bang sustainability? So sa sensitivity analysis, tinitignan niya, it checks how sensitive our results are to those changes. Okay? So, meron pa. Hindi pa tayo tapos. We have also the a fortiori analysis. Ito naman yung procedure of comparing two or more alternatives by resolving uncertainties in favor of an intuitively favored alternative that appears after preliminary analysis to be weaker than a competing alternative. So kung ang sa tingin natin ay mas malakas yung isang alternative based on our intuitive arguments, there is an even stronger case for its selection. Siyempre, mas maganda to. Yun yung ginagawa natin. We compare different alternatives and then we are basing our judgment, basing our prescription based on our intuitive judgment. So, note that fortiori means, anong ibig sabihin nun? It's about with even greater strength. Kung saan siya mas beneficial, saan siya mas malakas, yun ang pipiliin mong policy option. Baliktad, 12 po yun. Okay? So, ito na po yung last, plausibility analysis. Pag sinabi natin plausibility analysis, it's testing prescription against rival claims. So, ang ibig sabihin po nun is, plausibility analysis for which plausibility is understood as a subjective probability based on prior experience. So, plausibility analysis may be presented in the form of a policy debate or discourse. So, yun nga, may disagreement, mayroong debate, mayroong discourse. Kaya siya naging plausibility because i-analyze mo ano yung mga arguments, ano yung mga prescription ng iba, ano yung sinasabi ng other stakeholders pagdating sa mga policy options na meron tayo. So, yun ang gagawin mo para makita mo kung alin doon ang mas beneficial na policy option. Diba? So, in summary, lahat po to ay na-discuss na natin. Forecasting and prescription. Right? Please be patient sa pakikinig kasi limited po yung oras natin. More on, puro asynchronous kasi tayo mga past few weeks. And then, kailangan natin mag-come up with another alternative para matapos natin yung discussion natin. Okay? So, I hope na papakinggan nyo po itong mga discussions natin. And hopefully, ma-appreciate nyo. And then, kung meron man kayong comment, kung mabilis or anything, or hindi nyo naintindihan, comment down your questions, clarifications, justifications, or corrections. Yan, pwede nyo ilagay doon. Okay ba? Thank you so much for listening and see you face to face.